Jack Thunder and the Fragments of Anima, Book 6, Light. Chapter 8, We Are Legion. Puer Aeternus tripped and fell before they could even come within an arm's length of Jack Thunder. They slid across the ground, arms and legs encased in ice. Frosty hit them with her ice beam again, sticking them fast to the ground. Puer Aeternus screamed and cursed, trying to wriggle out of the ice's firm grasp. Their magic sparked uselessly around their frozen hands. Slowly, the 6 young heroes approached them. Jack Thunder pointed Stormbringer down at them, casting the undifferentiated healing spell he'd used on Wendigo victims before on the former Light Champion. Puer Aeternus froze for a second, but quickly returned to their struggling. Huh? What? Why isn't it working? This spell had always worked before, but somehow, the Wendigos infesting Puer Aeternus were able to overcome it. Not even Nemesis could resist the power of undifferentiated anima. He swallowed hard. If the Wendigos infesting Puer Aeternus were this powerful already, the youth demigod must have suffered for a long time. Jack Thunder cast the healing spell once again. Maybe it just needed a bit more power. Once again, Puer Aeternus paused for a second, then went back to struggling. Dang, they just won't quit! Buckthorn quickly caught on to what Jack Thunder was doing. She joined in casting the healing spell the next time around. Puer Aeternus paused for longer this time, their face holding an expression of bewilderment for a split second. Well, that was a step in the right direction. Shadowpaws, Snodder, and Kirami each joined in, channeling the healing spell with Jack Thunder and Buckthorn. As the spell grew stronger, the period of time that Puer Aeternus seemed lucid grew, and their face curled more and more in disgust. Their body was threatening to reject their unwanted guests, and they could feel it. But the Wendigos still weren't coming out. Jack Thunder got tired and sat down. Saturn, he addressed the Valkyrie. We're getting closer. We just need a bit more power. You know how to use undifferentiated anima, don't you? I don't know. Don't worry. It's easy to use. Just think about us and your family and gently channel your magic. Saturn nodded reluctantly. He took his place at the Storm Gremlin's side. Okay, on my count. 1, 2, 3, Jack Thunder instructed. The 6 of them all cast the spell at the same time. Puer Aeternus completely stopped moving. A sense of calm washed over them as the spell took hold. And it seemed to be the ticket. Puer Aeternus began to retch on the floor, gouts of black wendigo mass bursting from their mouth. Jack Thunder and his crew jumped back as the black ink spread across the ground, threatening to spill on their feet. The black gunk continued to spread, coating the ground and spilling into the pool. Jack Thunder reeled back in shock. The sheer amount of it was horrid. More than he'd ever seen from any Wendigo victim thus far. He and his teammates hopped up on rocks, but the substance continued to rise. Razor jumped on Jack Thunder's shoulder, snarling at the muck. By the time it stopped, the whole cave was bathed in a sea of null magic. Puer Aeternus had thankfully managed to come unstuck from the ground. They sat up in a pool of ink, their expression somewhere between confusion and disgust. Frosty and Sun had also hopped up onto rocks. The latter perched on a high rock, poised to strike. A chill passed over the crew as the inky pool beneath their feet began to bubble and boil. The underground pond had turned into a river of ice-cold magma. The tide rose, liquid arms thrashing about and threatening to pull the young heroes under. Jack Thunder heard a cry to his left and looked over. The hands had already grabbed hold of Puer Aeternus and were beginning to drag them under. The chamber lit up with green light for a second as a bolt of lightning sliced through the air. The arms around Puer Aeternus immediately dissolved and fell back into the bubbling, writhing maelstrom as Jack Thunder's lightning bolt incinerated them. Puer Aeternus spotted a nearby fallen statue and leapt on top of it, shaking. Out of the darkness, a sea of glowing white eyes emerged, staring straight at the Storm Gremlin. They did not appreciate being foiled. Jack Thunder pointed Stormbringer at them, prepared to strike if they made any move for him. The Wendigos pounced, enveloping the meddler who had distracted them. The glow from Stormbringer faded as the Wendigos began to drain his magic. Jack Thunder screamed and fought, tearing at the demon's forms with his teeth. All of a sudden, he felt himself tossed like a rag doll as a gushing cascade of water knocked him to the side. He hit his back against the wall and slumped to the ground. That wave had knocked the wind out of him, but freed him from the Wendigo's grasp. His gaze turned upwards to see Buckthorn, the sea stone flashing a deep blue around her neck. He stood up and ran to her side. They were surrounded. Wendigos were everywhere, blanketing the floor, crawling up the walls, approaching the ceiling. There was no escape from them. The only light came from the fragments, which were dangerously close to being consumed. Flashes of fire and blades of light could be seen as Kirami, Snodder, and Saturn used their weapons to cut down the arms that reached for them and their friends. Shadowpaws fired lethal joke into the fray, slowing down their attackers only slightly. The laughing gas didn't stand a chance as the Wendigos swallowed it whole. A harsh crackle sounded as something black and red lanced over the heads of Jack Thunder and Buckthorn. It crashed into the wall behind them, leaving a smoldering crater in its wake. Their heads jerked right to the source of the energy blast. Out of the chaos, one Wendigo stared right at them, mouth crackling with false electricity. Jack Thunder growled when he realized what had happened. They had learned to use lightning spells by stealing his magic. He was about to electrocute the offender when more bolts of lightning flew over his head. He, Buckthorn, and Puer Aeternus were forced to take cover. Overhead, they could faintly see Son flying in a random pattern, trying to throw the Wendigos off. The walls cracked and began to crumble as the lightning hit them. Too much more of this, and the chamber would collapse right in on itself. What could they do?